I'm talking today to John Brown, who's trustee of Camara Education. John, Camara's 18th birthday is coming up. Can you summarise the impact we've had over those first 18 years?
Well, I think the sort of easiest way to answering that is just to look at the numbers, which over the 18 years we've installed around 150,000 computers into four different countries, mainly four different countries in sub-Saharan East Africa. And we put them into 13,000 schools. We've taught, I think, 30,000, we've trained 30,000 teachers. And all of that, combined all of that means we've impacted at least, I mean, this is very conservative as well, 4.5 million African students, children, pupils. And I think that's quite a lot. What we've done is we've given them, at the very least, digital literacy. We've taught them how to use computers. And in Africa, as in any other country, basically, if you want a job more than just manual labor, you need to be able to use a computer. And I think of those 4.5 million students, they actually wouldn't have had access to it. The vast majority wouldn't have had access to a computer if it wasn't for Camara. There aren't alternative supplies. I mean, there are various other places, but while we've been doing the work, there's been no obvious alternative supply for access to computers for the people we've taught. We've taught them how to use computers. We've also improved their education via the use of their general education via the use of computers. So, I mean, when you get there, it seems, you know, I've been about 12 times, and I tend to, each trip I'll go and see 4 or 5 schools, and it all seems quite small. You know, the schools might have 1,000 kids, and you go into the 1 or 2 classrooms we put computers into, and it's great. It's terrifically rewarding experience, but it doesn't look that big. Put them all together, and we're talking about nearly 5 million people. 5 million people who hopefully have gone on to get better jobs because of their ability to use a computer, unlike many of their competitors, if you like, for those jobs. So I think the impact's been really, really significant.
How did you first get involved with Camara? I think you've been involved for quite a long time. How did that come about in the first place?
I've been involved for about, I mean, of the 18 years, I must have been involved for 16 or 17. So Camara was founded by Cormac Lynch, who's Irish and based in Dublin. And Cormac was trained as an electrical engineer, I think, all the best universities, so to speak. He then went on to have a successful career in banking until he sort of saw the light in his, I don't know, in his 40s, I think. He came back to Dublin and he studied, he enrolled on a international development course at Trinity College in Dublin. And as part of that, he took himself off to Ethiopia, to Addis Ababa, and he sort of ended up meeting a bunch of Ethiopian teachers, and they said, look, if you want to help, I mean, they said schools have got, you know, better over the years in East Africa, but now the rest of the world's got computers, and we're being left behind. And if you want to help us, give us computers. So he did. Cormac started work on that pretty successfully, and he decided he needed a kind of presence in London, in England. And he got hold of a headhunter, and the headhunter knew a friend of mine, and that friend knew of my interest in work in Africa. I had worked on a couple of projects in Africa beforehand, in South Africa and Zambia. And I knew enough at this stage to realize that it wasn't easy. It's easy to start something. It was very hard to make it actually work. So I didn't commit, but I said, I'm certainly interested, but I said I wanted to go to Africa with Cormac. So we set off, and we had quite a fun time, and we got on well. And we went to a few, we went to Uganda and Rwanda, both those countries we were servicing at the time. We had little centers in, and we went to some schools in Uganda, but they were waiting for us. They were terrific, and I really thought this is worthwhile. But I knew they were kind of waiting for us, so we were seeing the very best side. And then one day we'd driven into Rwanda, and Cormac said, "We're going to go and see a school unannounced, see what's happening. Are the computers still there? Do they still work, etc., etc." And we drove off to a school near Burundi, the Burundi border. It was well off a metalled road, down a dirt road. We got to school. It was generator powered. And Cormac said, there's the classroom that we kitted out about 6 months earlier. And we went down there. We went into the classroom. There were 2 of the teachers we'd trained. And there were 40 kids on 20 computers, 2 to a computer, teenagers. They hardly looked up when we turned. They were so engrossed. And I saw what they were doing. They were building budgets and they were doing spreadsheets of profit and loss and budgets. And at that moment, I thought, this is worth it. I was particularly attracted by, I mean, the whole model. And I'd seen through my other projects what kind of doesn't work in Africa. The thing that most attracted me was that you can work really hard on something in Africa, on a project in Africa, and over 5 years, you will, which I'd done previously, you'll definitely have done some good work. And this project I was involved with was a local medical project. It probably impacted maybe as many as 20,000 lives. But then you think, Africa's a very big place. And what really attracted me to Camara was the kind of multiplying factor. And look at it now, we've impacted 4.5 million people. And if you impact them, you impact their families as well. So I loved the scale of it and the way one can multiply the effect. And it's the ultimate example in many ways of, don't give somebody a fish, give them a fishing rod. So I was particularly taken by it and signed up there and then, really, in that school in Rwanda.
How do you think are the main ways in which things have evolved since you first started with Camara? I know that originally it was just we were delivering computers basically to schools, and I think that it's expanded a lot since then.
Yeah, I mean, Cormac did a very bold and, upon reflection, essential thing that was, he took the hard route, which is to establish our own teams in country, on the ground, so to speak. It's tempting to find the computers, send them off to various people who ask for them, other charities in country, but you have no control once they've left your shores, as it were. Cormac realized at a very early stage we needed to build up our own teams, and that has taken a long time. And as we made lots of mistakes. We've had some good people, some bad people, but we've learned through our mistakes and through experience. And I think overall the progress, we've really just got a lot more efficient. We've done a couple of significant things. We started off refurbishing and recycling our computers ourselves with our own kind of warehouses. We realized over a period of time that there are companies whom that's their job, and they did it a lot better than we did. So we've subcontracted that, which has freed us up. Another really important thing is that we've shifted significantly from Europe, Ireland primarily, but also London, to Africa in terms of who we employ. At various stages in our evolution, we've had a chunk of funding from here or there, and we've built up our teams in Europe. Sometimes I think to the cost of our teams in Africa. That has reversed now, and now the vast majority of the people we employ are based in the 4 countries in Africa. And we have a very tight, lean team in Dublin and London. And I think that has been essential, and is a really good move, and it's allowed us to build up the quality of our team in Africa, which makes all the difference. Also, in terms of, as you said, we started off just sending computers. We then sent computers and taught teachers, essential. We've now recently, well, I say recently, the last few years, we've concentrated more on what we put on the computers, which, upon reflection is obvious that we should be doing that. So we now, each computer, all computers have Wikipedia, but they all have local and very often local language material relevant to the local curriculum. So in short, we've just, having made lots, we've learned from our mistakes, we've learned from our experience, and I think we're just a lot leaner and a lot fitter than we were in the beginning. The best bit of the job, quite frankly, by some way, is going there. It's what keeps us going. You go into a school, they're always pleased to see you. They're in the computer lab. They know what they're doing. They delight in showing you what they can do, going on Wikipedia, doing the various using the various programs to improve their spelling, improve their maths. And then you ask them what they want to do, and they sit there and they go, oh, I want to be an electrical engineer, or I want to be an astronaut, or in some cases, I want to be president. And you go away thinking, do you know, they might actually do that. They might actually achieve that. It's enormously gratifying going into a classroom.